sympathize with you. They mustn't sympathize with the terrorists. And this is where we have gone wrong, because we have created a lot more sympathy.
Okay, but let me stop you there. Yeah. Do you believe whatever the attitude of the Iraqi people was, when the United States came to overthrow Saddam and did it in swift fashion, there was no goodwill for America to do that? I'm not talking about what might have happened after occupation. I'm talking about the act, the military act of overthrowing Saddam. That did not engender any goodwill on the part of the Shiites who had been living under the terror of Saddam?
No, I think under different circumstances it would have. But, you know, we had abandoned the Shias. They rose up 10 years ago.
So they had no love for us after that?
Well, they had no confidence.
Right, exactly.
And even now, one of the main problems is that people in Iraq don't feel that we are going to stay there and see it through. You know, because very often we come in and then we quit.
Okay, but that's a good point. Do you believe we ought to stay there and see it through? And what does see it through mean for you?
I think we have to make the transition. We have to have a political solution. We have to have elections. And in order to do that, we actually don't have the legitimacy. We are an occupying power. So we are caught. We are in a trap in a way, because we come as liberators. We want to act as liberators, but in actual fact, we are seen as occupiers, and the people whom we appoint don't have any legitimacy. The Iraqis look at them as stooges of the American occupying powers. So you need actually now the legitimacy that the United Nations could bring. Now, there's no way that the United Nations can take over the security issue. That has to be.
And they say as much.
And you know, that's not a question. But the political solution would require the blessing of the United Nations.
I want to get to one last issue, George. This notion of where do we go from here? What caused, in your judgment, the anti-Americanism, and how deep is it, and what impact does it have on America's role in the world?
I'm afraid it's now very widespread, and I think I would like to have a situation where it is attributed to the policies of this administration, not to America. In other words, my point is the elections, forthcoming elections, is a referendum, not a normal election.
Right.
It's a referendum on the Bush Doctrine. If we endorse the Bush Doctrine, because after all, President Bush wasn't elected with that doctrine. He was elected on the basis of a humble foreign policy.
And not being engaged in nation building as well.
Right. And I think it was a bit of a deception. I argued that in the book. But at any rate, that was not what his platform. If we now re-elect him, then we are endorsing the Bush Doctrine. And then we have to live with the consequences, which is widespread distrust and resentment in the world. And if you if we reject it, then we can write it off as a temporary aberration. We have had it before. We've, you know, put Japanese Americans into the concentration camps, but we have overcome it. It was a temporary thing. And America stands for certain values, values of an open society. And we would then resume our rightful place in the world as a powerful but peace-loving nation. And that is what is the choice. And this is why I'm so engaged in trying to convince people that we have to reject the Bush Doctrine.
This book is called The Bubble of American Supremacy, Correcting the Misuse of American Power, George Soros. I hope you'll come back, because a lot of things that are in this book that I want to talk to you about, including some of the issues about the future that concern you. Thank you for coming. Pleasure to have you here. We'll be right back.